Hey guys, welcome back. So today we are going to take a look at this 3D printable Anakin Skywalker lightsaber, which is New Hope inspired. I've taken a few liberties here and there, but overall it's basically a New Hope setup. This was 3D printed yesterday, painted last night and this morning, and this is what it looks like now. It's pretty good. It's not the way I wanted to paint it. I took some shortcuts here, but we'll see all that in a minute. Let's get to the build and we'll talk about this. I 3D modeled this day before yesterday, printed a couple of them. I am making these for Jamie Costa's Obi-Wan Kenobi fan film, which will be, he's getting ready to shoot it tomorrow. And I thought they were shooting at the end of the week, so I actually have to finish 2 of these. It's 10:30 at night. I gotta have them ready to go to his house by like 9:30 tomorrow. So we're gonna put these together and paint them quickly. I wanted to do a better paint job, but we're gonna do a quick paint job. Should still look okay, and we're gonna do that tonight. So anyway, here's a look at the saber. You might be saying, Gordon, there's tons of lightsabers on Thingiverse. This is true. There are a whole bunch. I actually went and scoured Thingiverse for all the different lightsabers. There's some really good ones on there. But there are things with each one of them that I was not quite happy with, and I considered going in and like making some new parts to fit some of the existing ones, but once I got in I decided I was just going to remodel the whole thing. So this is entirely modeled from scratch. I didn't use anybody else's models or mod, you know, do a remix or whatever they call it on Thingiverse. The thing that I was concerned with the most was making sure that I could print all this with no support material and that everything would kind of just go together really easily. Every other one that I saw had some area that required support material, or an area that had like some kind of like convex curvature in an area, and those things are just such a pain to clean up. Even if they come out clean, you always have to fiddle with them. I just didn't want to deal with any of that. So I wanted everything to print with no support material. So this whole thing, no support material to print it. There's no connectors inside, as far as there's no like lock fitting connectors. It's not press fit. You assemble it and you glue it together. That was the plan. I may change that in the future, but as of right now, it's just goes together. Just the plugs kind of like go together and you glue it. The reason I did that is because this piece here changes. It reverses from film to film. I think Empire Strikes Back, it's the other way. And I wanted to be able to make an Empire Strikes Back version, so I left this just, you'll see here. Let's look at the one. Let's look at the one that's not glued together yet. So here's an unglued one. So basically there's just a plug on the inside and it sits in here. So this piece can be oriented in any direction. Same at the bottom. It just plugs together. I could have done a little closer tolerances on these so they were snug, but I just wanted to make sure that they were going to work on the first try. I will be putting these on Thingiverse, if I didn't mention that already. I may adjust that just a tad so that it's a little bit more of a snug fit. But I intend to glue these. So yeah, all the pieces print, 3 pieces like this. And then the greebles with the knurled ends, I set the print on their own because the knurling always comes out better when you do it that way. And then I've got a couple of pieces like the little switch buttons here, which are different between the movies. I'm printing a separate piece. The fins, I did a New Hope style fins, but I did put, I don't know if you can see it in the light, I put the holes here, and I made an Empire Strikes Back version of the actual grip fins with the inset, so you can put a little rivet or a screw down in there. The one I'm making right now doesn't have that, but it's already in the model, so that is there. I have all the pieces over here. Let's lay it out and we'll take a look and we'll assemble one on camera so you can see how I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to paint these tonight too, so we'll go through that whole process. And like I was saying, these are due tomorrow, so I got to paint them really, really quickly. Let's go take a look at the parts. All right, so these are all the pieces here. This is the old version of the what they call the rabbit ears. I'm not using this version anymore. I changed it, so we'll put this one to the side. So this is pretty much how it goes. Here we have the grip fin things, which we're going to stick over here. We have the knurled knobs for the front and the back. The red button, which I happen to have a tiny bit of red filament left. and then the little clear lens thing that's on the front, and the what do you call this? The switch buttons that are on a New Hope style saber. We're gonna leave these separate for now. And then the rabbit ear assembly I've just made. Basically, this is just one piece now, which makes it easier. And as I mentioned before, I was trying to avoid support material. A lot of things on the pieces had, on other people's models, had support in places where, like, this thing would be one piece, and it would have these weird little tabs that would stick down, which meant it would require support to print this, which is not fun to remove support from pieces that are sort of thin and flimsy. There's always a chance to break the part. So if I could do it without support, I was going to. Same with some of the other pieces too, like the actual latch here for the clamp. I integrated this onto this part, and I shortened it about 3 millimeters. The real one sticks down a little further, but I cheated it here. The reason I'm actually making these is they will be a stunt prop for Jamie Costa's Obi-Wan film. They're not going to be a hero prop. So they're just going to be a thing that someone's holding in their hand or throwing. They're not going to be the hero prop, which he bought a really nice metal one for that. So these little details, these little cheats don't really matter all that much at all. I'd rather have it easy to print and not such a big deal than worry about the detail. Another thing I did is I thickened up this wall a tiny little bit compared to a lot of the other ones I saw. I just wanted this to be a little bit sturdier. So anyway, let's get started here. So again, basically I am going to be putting this together with glue. These pieces don't have any kind of like connection points or anything like that. They're just press fit. So, you know, once they're on there, they're on there. So I'm just using CA glue. This is basically super glue. And I'll be using a kicker to kick the stuff off, so it accelerates it. And yeah, and then basically I'm gonna put the glue on my connectors here, if my glue is not clogged up, which it is a little bit. Let's see, come on, hang on. Technical difficulties. I'm working on my print bed right now because my workbench is full of stuff I can't show you. There we go. So healthy amount of glue down in here, and then basically stick the parts together, line them up the way I see fit. I want them to look like a New Hope saber, so I'm orienting the little guard this way, and a little bit of kicker down there is going to help it kick off. Make sure this is nice and straight here. Sorry if I'm getting off camera. So just a little blip down in there should get it started, and that'll be nice and firm. So there's that piece. Now we got to do the same on this end. So we're going to put some CA glue on this side here, a little bit around the rim there. Should be plenty. Now CA glue works really well on 3D prints, and this goes in and generally line up the sides where I think they're going to go. Nothing crazy here. A little kicker to make that go off. And the rest of the glue that's in there is going to dry pretty quickly, but where you kick it off, it's basically cured instantly. So now this is together, which makes this really easy. Now these grip fins we're not going to put on yet because I'm going to paint everything I put together now. I'm going to paint silver and then come back to put the fins on black, and I'll probably do some kind of like satin finish on these so they're not shiny. Another thing to look at, real random, these are two different filaments. You can see a little bit of difference. This is the Prusament PETG filament, and this is I believe Overture. Is it blurring? Oh no, this isn't Overture. Which one is this? This is, I don't even know. It's like some generic PETG filament. I printed them the exact same settings. This generic one's a little bit shinier, and this one was $15, and this one was $22 for filament. And they look almost the same quality-wise. It's hard to tell them apart, honestly. So yeah, just a thing to consider. Anyway, let's get back to this. Sorry for my runny nose. I've had a cold for a few days. So now we've got our main parts of the saber here. We might have our little knurled buttons. This is one thing where a couple changes I need to make. I need to add a little bit of bevel detail on the edge of the saber here, which I'll probably do on a future version, but right now, again, nobody's going to see. So basically I put my little glue in there, give it a little twist to make sure that glue spreads around nicely, and give it a zip kicker down in there. And that glue is now set, good to go. And we have the same thing on the back. Now this piece, I need to make like a little beveled edge or something that has a positive connection here, because this piece is totally flat. And when I first did it, I intended to put the red switch in and then put the piece over it, and that would line it up. But I ended up not doing that on the other one, so I basically had to eyeball this together and you know, just look in there in the light and make sure it's lined up, and then, you know, try my best to not mess it up, and it came out fine. So you do the same on this one. I'm going to move over to the light for 1 second so I can see a little bit better. Good enough for government work, as they say. Give a little zip of the kicker, a little zip of the zip kicker. And now that piece is on there. We're not going to install the buttons or any of that stuff yet. We will go ahead and put this, the rabbit ears in. And basically these just slide through the hole here like so. They will go all the way through. I'm using PETG, so it's got a little flex to it, whereas PLA might not have as much. And they kind of have an inset where they'll sit nice and even there. And then to hold this in place, I've got the little block, which on the real one are just some tabs, but this goes through here like that, and that kind of holds it tight. We can put a little glue on there if we want. And then we have this piece, which goes on the inside here, clicks it open. Now this is kind of all together, one piece. And I'm going to drop a little glue in there just so it doesn't fall apart. I'll just take like a little dot, and I'm going to glue it a lot. I want this to be semi-replaceable if need be. So now that's in there pretty good. I don't even think the other one has glue on it. Let me check. This is the one I already pre-assembled. So I'm going to put a little dot of glue in this one too. Again, I don't think it needs it in there, but can't hurt. And on this one, I'm going to actually pull these pieces back off, because we're going to paint these suckers at the same time. Uh-oh. Now, I don't have the D-ring on the bottom yet. I might print one tonight. So I've got a set for the morning and just glue them. They'll probably be just fake. They're probably not going to actually work. It'll probably just be like a flush thing that just looks like the D-ring. So I can cheat it. This piece should slide out. There we go. See if I can get the little buttons out of here. If I didn't, get them stuck. So there we go. Now you can see on here too, this is a piece where I did a big cheat, where I put these big notches in the handle. This just helps the little fins line up really easily. So all the other ones had, people would cut them out in 3D space so they were curved on the bottom, and that made them very difficult to print, or they'd have some kind of weird tab that stuck down, but then they would need support material for everything else. So this design is just kind of a little bit of a, what do you call this? Not a trapezoid. It's like a little, trapezoid shaped end, so it sits in that groove real nice. And once everything's all painted, it's going to look totally normal, but it's a cheat on the build. Again, these aren't entirely accurate. I cheated things just to make stuff easier, but on camera, when everybody's holding these things and running around or throwing them, they're going to look just fine. So we need to go paint these now. So I've got my painting rods here, which are just old tent poles, which I found in the garbage. I use it for all kinds of stuff. You can see there's traces of paint for all kinds of things on here. So basically I plug this in here. I might need to add a little more tape to make it snug, and that way I can hold the lightsaber out like this. I can clamp it off, and I'm going to do this one as well. So I already taped this one up. This one might be a little more snug. Yeah, this one's a little more snug, which is good. So now we got like a little shish kebab. I did make these so that they will hold like a dowel rod or a piece of metal pipe. I'll show it on once they're done. I'll put one together if I remember. And that way, if they need to do something where they need to track in a blade, they can put in a piece of rod and use it for tracking purposes. But yeah, so this one obviously is just the tent pole. But let me add a little tape to this guy. Make sure that it's a little bit more snug, because we don't want this to come undone while we're painting it. One little zip of masking tape around here. The slight cone shape, that should. If I didn't do it totally wrong. Yeah, it's a little bit better fit. There we go. So there's our 2 lightsabers. We're gonna get painted up. Let's go prime these suckers up. Oh yeah, real quick. Another thing I had to make, which I also modeled, was a little comlink. This needs to be painted also. I'll put this up on Thingiverse too. It's kind of accurate-ish. I, again, cheated everything so it would print really easily. So I took liberties, but it'll look totally fine holding it, talking, etc. So we'll get this painted too. But let's go prime these up and get to it. All right, guys, we are outside here. Got my spray paint. I'm going to use primer, just regular Krylon primer. This is my favorite primer because it just goes on really thin, so you can do multiple coats. There's like a couple little things that are little blemishes I'd love to take out, but I just don't have time. So when I prime these things, I sort of dust the primer on like this at first. This basically just helps it dry. Some people make fun of me for not blasting a gnarly first coat, but the thing about doing it like this in these little puffs for the first layer or so is that if there is any oil on the surface, fingerprints or whatever, the solvents in the paint will actually cut through them usually, but they don't cut through it fast enough that if you put on a lot of paint, it will still, you might get fish eyes. Like the paint will basically not sit on the oily stuff. But if you dust it, it gives it a chance to kind of cut through a little bit. And then you get a nicer coat once you put it on there. So yeah, we're just getting this thing dusted down. Probably do 2 or 3 coats of primer. And this is one of these things where I would love to paint it a little more carefully, but anything that I can see, I can hit with the paint, and nobody else is going to see the stuff that I miss. And again, this is a stunt prop, so if I don't totally make it perfect, it'll be fine. It's going to read well on camera, and that's what really matters. So we got one. There's one prime. You can see there's a little line from the printer. Maybe I'll have time to do that. I'm gonna let this one dry, and then if there's time, I may go back and take care of that. And I have a piece of foam down here that I stick the pieces in. Foam is really handy for stuff like this, using it as a paint stand. You can see I've used it a bunch of times before. I just got to do a whole bunch of painted a bunch of pieces for a movie that's going to be like a legit horror movie. I guess it's a horror movie or a suspense movie or something, but I'm excited for that one. And I took video of that process too, but I don't know how. It'll probably be a while before I get to show it. There we go. All right, so those are going to sit there for just a little bit. Here's my garbage can, extension cords. We'll let those dry for a bit, and then we'll come back. All right, so as you can see over here, we have our fins, our grip fins. I don't know what the heck they're called, and I used just a Krylon flat black to do those. So it's about 6 in the morning, so I'm not gonna do this too loud. It was taking a long time for the primer to dry last night because it's cool and humid, which isn't optimal. Now typically I would spray a layer of like gloss black on this before the step, but time is not going to permit that this morning, so we're going to go straight to the silver. It's not quite as good finished as I'd like. This silver that I'm going to spray is just a Rust-Oleum. It's called like bright coat chrome. This stuff looks surprisingly good. It is a little sensitive to fingerprints, so I'm going to do a test on something else to see if we can seal this. But let's get started here. So same deal, I'm not going to hit it too heavy. I'm going to just dust it here. And because everything on here is going to be silver, we don't have to be too careful. This stuff actually fills in pretty nice, and when you spray a heavy coat, it gets the best gloss, but it takes a long time to dry, and they're going to need to handle this thing, so I'm trying to not go crazy. See if it's, you want to do just enough so it levels out. And shake this stuff off, and because there's little metal chunks in there that sink really quickly in the paint. You can see that it's actually on some of the detail bits. It's like looking pretty good already. Do a thing like this, kind of helps the paint settle into the low spots. And this way I don't have to flood it out too much. This metal paint is actually very good at filling in areas. So that's not bad. This is passable for a prop for sure. Now, what I planned on doing was an all-clad pass, like a silver pass here, and then hitting that with all-clad on top of a clear coat, kind of like that shoulder ring I showed the other day. But again, time does not permit that. I do not think this morning. So anyway, we've got some metal. Looks pretty decent right now. It's not the best, but it's passable for a prop. It looks metal. It's reflecting metal all over the place, actually, pretty well. So we'll let this one dry. Get the next one going. Again, sorry I'm talking quietly. I'm outside and it's 6 a.m. so I don't want to wake anybody up if I don't have to. So here it is all painted. I was going to do a clear coat. I have a test Obi-Wan saber, which is not related to this film at all, that I sprayed with the silver, and then I clear coated it, and it looks okay. Let me see what it looks like on camera. This is one that's been clear coated, and it definitely loses reflectivity when you compare them. This stuff is highly susceptible to fingerprints, like crazy. You know, you can see some of the print lines and everything, but for the most part, if you're carrying this, moving around, you're not going to pick up on all the flaws in this. But I really wanted to put in like another, I don't know, a few hours and a couple more layers of paint onto these things. So this is not quite where I wanted it, but overall, again, if you're this far away, moving, it looks totally fine. So we need to go glue the grips and everything on here. I'm going to try my best not to mar up the new paint if possible. And yeah, let's get to that. All right, so here we have one of the silvered lightsabers, and I need to put on all the accessories. I also have my Comlink here. I got to build that in a minute. Now these little grips, I spray painted them flat black. And these just need to sit in these little grooves here. It's gonna look pretty cool. What I want to do is make sure that I don't spray any of the kicker onto the new paint, because I think it's gonna mess it up. So what we'll be doing is I will be adding the glue into the detail areas here where the part is going to glue down, like so. Just enough here, and should be plenty. And I'm going to spray the kicker onto the back of the actual strip here, and then we're going to gently, carefully, hopefully, place that, and hopefully it will sit nice. And it does, and that will kick basically instantly. So then we'll have our grip in place. So that's going to sit on there like so. And we'll continue around and do the rest of them. So there we go. We've got our fins on here, which is pretty cool. We're going to do the same with the little red button. Make sure this sucker fits in there. It does. Throw some glue down at the bottom here. It's a pretty good squirt in there. I might just let this one dry, because it will dry on its own. And that way I don't have to worry about stuff getting everywhere. It has a lot of glue. So there's that one. I put enough glue in that some squished out. Probably went a little overboard. And the same with the clear guy here. I'm just doing a dot down in there. Drop this little clear sucker in. And I really wanted to super clear coat these guys to make them shiny. I might still do a quickie touch up with some acrylic gloss varnish on the clear bits. We got our buttons. And then this piece should just slide in. I don't think I'm gonna have to glue this. These things hang in there pretty nicely. So I should probably go in from the top, maybe. I don't know. I actually can hold these grips now that they're on here. This piece will slide in like so. And then there's our assembled saber, stunt action saber. And it's looking pretty decent. I got to go do the other one, but you guys don't need to watch that. So this is what we've got so far. And back to work. Maybe you'll see these in the Obi-Wan fan film. Again, I am going to put some acrylic varnish on these guys just to shine them up a little bit, but I don't really have time to show that on camera right now. I got to get to work. All right, again, so that was basically how I put this together. This is a look at the Saber in its relatively finished state. I'm not going to touch it yet because this paint is still fragile. If you saw this video, you know that this paint really needs to dry for like a good day or two before you want to handle it, but so I'm trying to avoid touching it right now. But overall, this is it. It's assembled. I would have done this with multi-paint, like 3 layers of primer, like a quick sand, clear coat pass, all clad pass. That would have been optimal, but this is just spray paint. Looks still pretty good. It's going to read great on camera for what it's being used for. So I got to go finish the second one and get back to work. The files for this will be on Thingiverse. If they're not there already, they'll be there very soon. And there's going to be lots of caveats, and I'm going to be just adjusting things here and there on the files. So, you know, check back from time to time and see if there are updates. There will be also Empire Strikes Back style fins, and I will probably make an Empire Strikes Back style button switch here. So anyway, quickie look. Also, there's no D-ring on here yet, unfortunately. I just didn't have time for it. So I will add that to the file, the Empire Strikes Back and a New Hope version as well. So and eventually maybe a Revenge of the Sith style grip, but I don't know. Who cares about that one? Not me. All right, kids. See you in a bit. Bye. And just a quickie note, I will be putting this little Comlink model on my Thingiverse as well. This is scratch modeled to be printed with no support material, barely any cleanup. A really quickie thing to print if you just need a quick Comlink. Is it accurate? I don't know. It's accurate-ish. The mic tip is correct scale, but I cheated a couple things for printability. But overall, it looks like a little Comlink. It's pretty cool. It'll be on there. Take it if you want it. Whatever. I don't care. Bye.